All right, hello and welcome. It feels like everywhere you turn, someone is racing to build an agent. The term is it's everywhere. But what in the world does it actually mean? Today, we're going to cut through all that hype, all the noise, and get right down to the practical side of AI agents. Okay, let's get into it.
And that really is the big question, isn't it? I mean, it seems like overnight, AI agent became the buzzword on everyone's lips. But honestly, it's used so broadly that it kind of loses its meaning. So before we even start talking about building them or what they can do, we really need a clear, simple answer to this one fundamental question.
Okay, so let's just tackle that head on in our first section here. We are going to slice right through the jargon and lock down a practical definition that's going to be our foundation for everything else we talk about today. So here's the truth. If you ask 10 different experts what an AI agent is, you're probably going to get 10 different answers. There really isn't one single universal definition just yet. But for our purposes, we can land on a very simple and I think very powerful working definition. This slide right here, this breaks it down perfectly. On the left, you've got your standard generative AI. We all know this, right? It understands what you want and it generates some content. But Agentic AI over on the right, it adds that one crucial game-changing step. It performs actions. It doesn't just talk about what to do, it actually does it. And that leap from just talking to actually doing things, that's not just some technical novelty. It's a direct response to what the market is asking for. So let's take a look at why we all of a sudden needed AI to do more than just chat with us.
I mean, think about how fast all this happened. Back in 2022, ChatGPT was a total revolution. Thanks to this thing called zero-shot learning, which is really just a fancy way of saying it could handle stuff it wasn't specifically trained on, AI suddenly felt truly conversational. But by 2024, the novelty started to wear off. People started saying, okay, this is cool, but can it actually do stuff for me? And that's exactly where agents come in. They are here to bridge that gap. Okay, so performing actions sounds great, but what does that actually look like in the real world? This isn't some far-off futuristic idea. We're talking about real, tangible tasks that can solve actual business problems right now. This slide just makes it so clear. A regular chatbot might give you a list of sales leads. An agent, though, it takes that list and automatically sends out personalized intro emails. A chatbot can summarize a document for you, sure, but an agent can summarize it, file it in the right folder on SharePoint, and create a follow-up task for you in Asana. That's the huge leap we're talking about. So, we know what they are, we know why we need them, but how do they actually do all this stuff? Let's get into the mechanics, and I promise we've got a really simple analogy that's going to make it all click into place. At the very heart of every agent is the part we're already familiar with, the large language model, the LLM. This is the brain of the whole operation. It's just like in ChatGPT. It's the part that does all the heavy lifting, the reasoning, understanding what you want, and figuring out a plan. But what good is a brain if it can't interact with the world, right? It needs hands. And that is where tools come in. Think of these as the agent's hands. They're things like APIs or function calls that let the LLM's brain reach out and actually use other software. These are the hands that send the email, that update the database, that file the document. Now, to make these agents truly reliable, especially for complex jobs, you need a few more pieces. They need memory, so they don't forget what they did 2 seconds ago. They need good planning skills to break down a big request like plan my business trip into smaller, manageable steps. And, this one's huge, they need state management to keep track of their progress and not just get stuck in a loop. This quote just nails it. Agents are engineering wrappers. The core intelligence, the brain, that's not new. That's the AI model we already had. The agent is the framework, the scaffolding, all the smart engineering that gives that brain a set of hands to actually get things done in the world. So let's pivot now to the practical side. How do we actually build these things in the real world? Because this is where so many teams go wrong right out of the gate. But there's a simple way to flip the narrative and get it right from the start. This slide shows the #1 mistake people make. The wrong way is starting with the tech. It's the, hey, agents are cool, let's build one approach. The right way is to forget about the technology for a minute and instead ask, what's a real, painful, annoying problem we have in our business that we need to solve? You have to start with the pain. Seriously, is your customer support team just drowning, spending 80% of their day answering the same 5 questions over and over?
That is a perfect problem for an agent. Is your data analyst constantly clicking between 5 different dashboards just to pull one simple report? Another fantastic use case. Focus on the problem, not the shiny new solution. So once you found that real-world problem, you get to a fork in the road. And this is probably the single most important design decision you are going to make. It's a fundamental trade-off that defines everything about how your agent works.
And I can't stress this enough. This trade-off is absolutely critical. It is at the heart of every single agent application out there. It's this delicate balancing act. And honestly, getting it right is the difference between building a tool people love and trust and one that just ends up being frustrating.
And here it is, plain and simple. The constant push and pull between agent autonomy and human control. On one end of the spectrum, you can give the agent total freedom to just go and get the job done. On the other end, you can have a human approve every single little step it takes. Neither one is right or wrong. It totally depends on the situation. For sending out a marketing email blast, yeah, you probably want high autonomy. For processing a $1 million transaction, you're definitely going to want maximum human control.
So the final thought I really want to leave you with is this. Don't just ask, can we build an agent? That's the wrong question. Instead, find a real problem first, and then ask yourself this critical question. For this specific problem to deliver real value safely and effectively, where do we need to be on this spectrum between full autonomy and total control?